Hello and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and as always, I'm joined by award-winning director Brian Redondo and Savon Jones, aka Captain Vonnie. This is episode 156, and we talk about what we're loving this week. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund.
Incredible!
Hello, gentlemen. What's up?
Howdy.
Howdies. We had a great conversation on our last pod about House of the Dragon, but this episode is going to be just more loosey-goosey, less structure. We're going to talk about what we're loving. I'm really excited to hear about what Savon is going to talk about, but we're just going to, get into it. Savon, you having a good day?
It's a lovely Sunday. I can't complain in the slightest. I could,
Great.
but I'm not.
You going to go to the farmer's market today?
No, I went yesterday, actually. I went
Brilliant.
to a slightly
That's a
different
Saturday
one.
thing for Savon.
Oh, you're right.
It
It is a Saturday
I went
thing.
to a slightly different one, and it was nice. Had a good time.
Nice. Brian, you're having a good one? You're in Jersey?
I am in the dirty jers and
Nice.
keeping it dirty.
Hell yeah. You guys do anything this weekend with the family, or are you guys just hanging out?
My mom actually just came back from a class reunion trip to Seattle, and according to my sister, she was having a damn good time.
How does your sister
maybe
know? Was she
too
like
much.
on Instagram or something?
She live in
Oh,
Seattle?
because like eldest child, mother,
just gets the
they're very
scoop?
tight.
Okay.
They're very
Okay,
tight.
okay.
So they
Okay.
talk. They talk.
All right.
Aw.
So
And
she might be
I only get the
leader of
update.
the Game of Thrones. We
No,
were
no,
talking
no,
about
no,
last
no.
episode.
no, that's
Still no.
That's
Still no.
how tight my grip is. Like I don't even need to be in communication. Like
Okay.
I just
Sounds
got it.
good. Well, it's good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what we're loving. Oh, we need the theme song. WWL, where's the theme song?
Play the theme song.
What we're loving.
All right. So I get to start. My what we're loving is all of the soccer. We're getting so much soccer, and it's played at a fairly high level. I'm talking about the Euros, the European Championships right now. It's all the national teams in Europe. They go up against each other, and then it's kind of like a mini World Cup, but just for Europe. That makes sense. And the level of play is just crazy to watch because I'm used to watching MLS, which is like decent. There's good players in MLS, but watching the Euros and watching these players play like Mbappe and all these wonderful
Mbappe. Sorry.
Hansen reference. I love it. All these just phenomenal players that play over in Europe and are from European countries, and they just play so cool. It's like the one-touch football and the way they're able to just like pass people in spaces and their speed. I'm just
One-touch
like,
football?
man,
What is
It's
what?
crazy.
Is that like two-hand touch football? What is one-touch football?
It's where like the passes happen just so quick. It's like boom, boom, like ping pong, or like pinball. The ball is just moving. It's not staying in one place. One person's not trying to dribble past 80 people.
So Spurs basketball on a football field.
The beautiful
Like that.
game.
It's very much like that. Maybe two-touch football, but the ball's not staying with any one person. You're not just having someone Luka Doncic it out there. And it's just been really cool to see, and we kind of get to see all these matches all at once from all these top level teams. Apparently nobody is really dominating. Everybody's kind of shown some weaknesses, so it kind of makes it an open question about who might win. They think they just finished the quarterfinals. They're getting to the semifinals. As someone who likes soccer but doesn't love it, doesn't watch it all the time, I've been watching quite a few of the matches and enjoying it, watching the complaints come across my Twitter feed about England and their coach. They're very Darvin Ham energy for the England coach. They really don't like how he plays and how he deploys his players. They think he just kind of sits on his hands and doesn't really have them be aggressive, and people think that's really hurting them. And England's been somewhat of a disappointment despite having some of the best players on the planet, like Jude Bellingham, who plays for Real Madrid. So I'm learning all these things. I don't know much about soccer, but I like watching top level competition, and it's cool. No real complaints. They're playing it in Germany right now. The crowds have been fantastic. You could just hear them just like whistling, which is like the European version of booing, and and then they're just like cheering and singing all these songs. Something that I think I learned is like at the first England game, they played the national anthem and they showed it. And I think they changed the words to God Save the King because there's now a king in charge. So I didn't realize that the national anthem for the UK or
Did
England like goes back and forth. Like,
Did that mess up a rhyming scheme
I don't
in
know.
the lyrics? Like,
who knows? I don't know any of the
God
words.
save the
I
queen.
doubt the British are known for their rhyming.
No. So Shakespeare totally rhymed. Limericks not limericks, his sonnets all over the place rhyming.
I'm still trying to think of a rhyme for queen right now. Which tells
Mike
you about my
Breen.
skills. Tween?
Sheen.
Mike Breen.
Oh, Mike Breen.
Yeah,
Bang.
God save the
Bang.
queen. We only have Mike Breen. But then if you change it to God save the king, then what happens? We're going to
Then you
go
gotta
at
change
it
it to
full
sing.
swing.
Yeah, I love it. Brian, you
And
should
then
write
everybody
national
just
anthems.
knows it. Everybody just knows it.
They just know it.
All right. I guess they had a succession plan in place.
I don't know when do they start changing the national anthem. Is it like on the coronation day, or is it like once the queen dies and they know that the king is going to be the king? Do
I
they
would
change
lean
it?
towards coronation, but who knows? We got any
Who
British
What if
listeners?
they
British
do the
listeners?
queen dirty
What's
and they play the new version while she's like on her deathbed?
Ooh, that's early.
It's
I was
like,
thinking, what if they did the king
we're
dirty
ready.
and they just didn't change the song? They were just like, we're just going to keep it the queen because you're old and we don't want to change it back when when the next person comes into power. I don't know. That's
What's
just
wrong with
something
y'all?
I thought about when I watched. This is dumb. All right. Great soccer. If you want to watch great soccer, watch the Euros. I don't know if it's going to be still on. It'll probably still be on by the time the show comes out. In a little bit of comparison, there's another continental championship going on called Copa America, which is South America's championship.
It's
It-
not
but
just
it's-
South America; it's all
It
the
is.
Americas.
Well, it's run by the South America Federation.
The U.S. was in it,
I know. Well, so
and they're hosting it.
I know. So that's the weird thing is that the U.S. is hosting. It's the first time it's been hosted outside of South America, and they in a lot of these things they'll invite other teams to play. So like even in the I think it's the Gold Cup or whatever Nations Cup or whatever the North American Central American one is called, they also will invite other teams to play. Like a couple other teams will join in. It's the same case here as the South American one. They invite other teams, like they've invited Canada, the US, Jamaica I think is playing. I think that's right.
So it's
And
not
so
an America's thing because
it's-
I thought it
it's-
was. So
yeah, it's
the U.S.
it-
was just a special invite. It's just
yeah,
a
they
special
do
guest
some special
and host.
invites. Yeah, and then they let them host it. But it's been a little bit wonky in terms of the reffing has been pretty shit, like across the board. And then the other thing is that they're playing on fields that are sometimes they're like newly laid fields because they're playing in places that usually play on turf, and so the grass has been kind of shitty, and so the soccer is not like as good. It's a little bit rougher. They allow a lot more contact and stuff, and so the game is not the beautiful game that you sort of see when you're watching the Europeans play. It's very much a bare knuckle brawl kind of game, and
Smash
the-
Mouth Soccer.
it is, and the reffing, especially in that last US game, was like pretty awful, and it really cost them some chances. But the US also didn't do enough to win, so they were out in the group stage and didn't make it to the knockout rounds. But it'll still be, I think, good to watch. I don't really know who's left. I just like watching the soccer and seeing what's happening. But Euros is where it's at. If you're getting up a little bit early to watch the Euros, you're having a good time. That's
When-
it. That's what I'm loving.
One thing
When do
I'll-
we get real life Rocket League soccer? When's that
Ooh.
happening?
That would be cool.
That has to be online somewhere, dude.
I
refuse
mean,
to believe
right?
they
Like
don't
you
have
could
that.
just do that.
How? The ball
Insurance
has
would
to
be
be
through
like
the
more
roof.
floaty.
Yeah, but okay, you can make a floaty ball. You
Yeah,
saying like
you
that's
got a
not
beach
possible?
ball. You never
That's the
seen a
least
beach
of my
ball?
concern. The ball is
But
the
it
least
doesn't
of
go
my
far.
concern.
You got to
Yes.
put rockets on cars.
Yeah,
That's-
the
that's
ball is not the concern
key
about
part.
real life Rocket League, Wes.
Okay.
That's like getting caught in the ball logistics. I'm worried about the vehicles. What the
Yeah.
hell?
Well, how do you make the vehicles like be able to jump off the side? and
Now
then
you're
land
asking the right
always
questions.
wheels
Those are the
down,
right questions to ask.
Yeah.
You're probably just not
So,
gonna be able to fly. The start.
We
just
want to
keep
put a
little
lot of
grounding.
ramps in that field. I think
Okay.
that is
Number one.
probably one key. I I think all the cars have to have nitro. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, nitrous oxide. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's from Fast and the Furious, right? Yeah.
To give them boosts,
Yeah.
Maybe they
We know
need
what
to
we're
be
talking. We're car
designed
guys.
in a little like more aerodynamic way. Maybe they got spoilers. maybe they got wings.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, rice rocket. Yeah. It could
Yeah.
happen. Make it happen. So let's
Yeah,
start
come
our
on.
own Rocket League.
Come on, Elon Musk. We don't need electric cars. We need Rocket League.
All right. Let's
Now
get
I
into
get
it.
it.
Brian, what's your what we're loving this week?
So
Is it Rocket League? Is that what we're saying here?
you know, honestly, I've never played Rocket League in my life.
It's so
I
fun.
just-
It's one of those games.
Have you been playing Zelda still? Not the
Oh, I finally finished it.
You finished
I
it?
finished it like last month. In terms of the story,
And you
I
didn't
finally
bring it to what we're loving?
I finally finished the main story. This was like last month, man. I'm
Okay.
on to new shit. Let's be real here. I keep it moving.
Keep it moving.
But I gotta say, Tears of the Kingdom, incredible game. Better
Was-
than Breath of the Wild. Like
Okay.
the main storyline is just so good.
Mhm.
And like there are numerous jaw-dropping moments, including at the very end, with the incredibly satisfying final boss fight, which is kind of sweaty.
Yeah.
To borrow Savon's parlance, kind of sweaty. Especially for a Zelda game, right? Kinda
Summer in
sweaty.
Orlando, sweaty.
But I did it, and I'm proud of myself.
Nice. Did
Uh,
Anna
yeah,
Anna still
so-
help you? Was she couch co-oping it?
I mean, she was definitely beside me. Like
Yeah.
I
She was engaged. She was
paused
like,
the game. I waited to face the final boss,
she
who's
came
of course
back.
Ganon, until she was present beside me. So
Nice. That's so
Aw.
kind of
that's
you,
a gift to
considering.
her. That's a gift
Yeah.
to her. I
Hey,
could
babe, I'm fighting the final boss. Hold on, let me get my
But-
snacks.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want some spectators rooting for you?
For your moment of
Well,
glory.
yeah,
and triumph.
I mean,
yeah.
how many times have you finished a game and it's 4 a.m. in the morning and you're alone in your dark bedroom
You got to
and
send
you're
the
just
text to your boys.
you're just like pumping a fist to nobody? Like that's no fun.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
no
With
fun.
PlayStation, I'll be clipping that shit. I'm like, nah, the squad gonna see this shit. They gonna y'all gonna learn one way or another.
All right, but that's not your what we're loving.
That is actually not what I'm loving.
All right.
But because that's only because I got so much love to give. But I've actually been trying to talk about these two movies for a while. Like I've been sitting on them because I wanna evangelize to the world
Okay.
about these
Good
two
Lord.
movies. They're both animated movies about AI androids. And so the first and actually they're both from France. Which
Were you on that foreign stuff?
don't think of that as a turnoff. Think of that as a positive here. So these are like I'm calling these French anime. And I would love to
Frenanime.
see more of these come into existence, or at least come to the US. Because I think these are two very solid movies. The first is called Mars Express, and the second one is called Robot Dreams. So
Okay.
Mars Express.
I'm writing them down.
Do
Save
your
myself a
homework,
note.
people. Do your
Okay.
homework. We need
Yeah.
more of these movies. Mars Express has to be like one of the most fascinating sci-fi movies I've seen in a very long time, and bonus
Ooh.
points for it being animated, right? So this takes place in the distant future where there are robots, AI robots everywhere. And basically Mars Express it's a detective story. It's a neo-noir detective story set in a future where there are robots anywhere. So it definitely takes a bit of inspiration from Blade Runner, of course, and a lot of other movies like it. But what makes Mars Express great, though, is that it really thinks through all the different possibilities that happen with future technology. So they have robots, right, that have very specific programming where they're not allowed to harm humans at all. But then, of course, there are hackers out there who jailbreak robots to enable them to be taking other types of orders that they normally wouldn't take. There are there's also a part of this, people who die who then transfer their memory, brain, likeness, and image into robots, and you can only do that when you die. Um, and then, of course, you have the same limitations as other robots, but there's also an underground market where people are doing that while their human counterpart is still alive. So you got that sort of thing going on. Then you got organic robots, which are like the next level thing. And then you have the corporations who are making that, and they're trying to they're trying to change the market for robots by introducing organics and saying that, like, oh, organics are the next stage of the process, they're the future. So what does that mean for the robots? And robots have this whole thing going on, and in the midst of that, you have an entire murder mystery happening, right? Like, why did this young girl get murdered in her college dorm? And you have the detective who is on the hunt, trying to unravel that tangled web, which leads to all sorts of crazy places, and you sort of get to see this entire future and all the different technology that plays out within it. And it's just hyper cool and really smart. And so it does two things really well. It does the noir detective story really well, like at such a high quality, that you'd expect from kind of these private eye stories, murder mysteries, and it does the sci-fi future really well. And so, like, when you combine those two things, you just get like a really good solid movie, and plus it's animated, and in kind of like the Scavenger's Reign type art style, which is very minimalist lines, very kind of like realistic looking figures for the humans, right? It doesn't look, I would say, cartoony by any means. It looks very mature. So that is just a great piece of animation that I hope that more people see. It's on demand right now, and then to
Hold on.
pair
Where
it.
can I watch it? Where can I watch this again?
So it's on demand right now. I actually saw it in theaters, but it was only in theaters for like a week. But it's on demand right now. You can rent it, I think,
Okay.
is the way to
Like
do it. I don't know if
Amazon,
it's going to
Apple
be on
TV.
streaming at some point. Probably, hopefully.
I'm
It's really
sold.
good.
I'm sold. And you would describe. It just feels like why I like things like the whole thing about robots and androids, and it seems like there's an actual legit distinction between the robots and androids. I feel like a lot of media doesn't do both of them at the same time in depth like that. So if we got robots, androids, I'm assuming, people turning like this is a mix of stuff that's from Fallout slash
There's so
cyberpunk,
much.
and
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here. I love that, like, Ghost in the Shell existential. And okay, so to be clear, you said this is a universe where I know you have to suspend your disbelief, but this is a universe where a lot of those suspend of disbelief questions, they just say, nah, F it, we're gonna flesh it out and actually give you an answer that has weight in this world. Like, give me
They give you
give me one example of the whole, like, dynamic between the whole robots people thing, like that whole background world building piece. Like, give me just an example of, like, give me a little bit more of one of those examples you talked about.
so they give you enough context that you understand it, which is also like a key part of this movie, right? They're not holding hands
Uh-huh.
with you and just like explaining, like, here's the history of how we created all these robots and what they do. Like, you get it contextually in the story because the characters are living in that universe.
Mm.
So for example, the private eye, her partner is a former cop, and they were former cops together, or maybe that former cops or military police or something like that. And he's a person that has died, that has transferred his consciousness into a robot. Um, and because he has to obey humans, right? And he cannot harm
Even though he
humans.
used to be a person and has all his former human memories and life and
Yes.
all that shit.
And he's chasing bad guys with the private eye. So at one point, very early on in the movie, he is chasing down that suspect and he grabs him by the wrist, right? So he's got a robot arm, grabs him by the wrist, and that person who he grabs says, "Let go of me. You have to let go of me." But what this robot does is that he turns himself off before the suspect can ask. So he's
So his
completely
arm is
locked
locked.
and frozen. And you just, instead of his face, right, hovering over his metallic body, you just see like a off-screen saber floating above his neck. And so that is kind of like the interplay. So you, like, through the context, you understand the dynamic
It's very
between
well
humans
thought
and
out.
robots.
It's very
And
well thought
how
out.
kind of like how messy it gets, and exactly how well thought out it is. And so that plays into a lot of things. Like the Private Eye also has like a computer implant in her brain, so she's sort of able to do like some Minority Report type stuff, but she's also got a drinking problem. And so when she goes to the bar, her implant lets the bartender know that you're not supposed to have this. And so she needs to do some very specific things to override her own implant so that she can indulge in her alcoholism. So
I'm
like
sold.
there's like tons of things where people are just living in this reality, and you kind of get it. You kind of get it because they feel like things that you could actually think of based on where we are now in our own tech
They do
and
things
how
with the
those
tech
things
that we
evolve.
do with our tech. Like we have our smartphones that do all this stuff, but you can hack
Exactly.
your phone, you can break your computer, you can hack your console. Like this, yeah, you can do all kinds of workarounds for our tech. Okay, so like the world feels lived in that it's not just the tech just exists as like a all cure for
Just
all the
yeah.
world's problems. Like it exists, and if people had this tech for X amount of time, this is what folks would have worked out. Or if you as the viewer is saying, oh, if they have this, why don't people try and do this? They do.
Yes.
This is what it looks like when they do that. Like to your point of, oh, well, what about the robots taking over? Yeah. All right,
Yes.
no, dude,
And
I'm all
the
in.
filmmakers have thought about it, and they're showing you 3 steps ahead of that thought process, and then you backfill as an audience to
Yeah.
understand it.
All of the like poke holes in it questions, they have probably already poked and plugged those holes in their actual story crafting process.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
All
So
right, nah, dude,
Mars
I'm here for it.
Express, like, we don't get like really cool futuristic sci-fi movies all the time. So this is definitely one to check out.
And a new IP. I'm
And
assuming
then
it's a new IP, right? Is
yeah,
this an
totally
original
new,
IP?
totally new.
Hell yeah.
And then to pair it, I'll be short with this one. To pair it, another French animated movie called Robot Dreams, which was nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, but like it only just came out in theaters recently. Completely different. A world full of animals. They're no humans. They're just like, you know, there's a dog person living in an apartment. There's like a
Say the name
flamingo
again.
person. It's called Robot Dreams. And
Oh yeah, I heard
basically
about
it's
this.
a silent movie. There's no dialogue, so it's just all on-screen action. You kind of get it, uh, by people's gestures and things that transpire. But basically, this one dog, lonely, living in New York City, orders himself a robot companion, and they have the the most beautiful, deepest on-screen relationship between two characters, all without dialogue, and it's just a delightful movie. It's just a delightful movie, um, but with robots and animal friends
And a dog.
Yeah.
Where can people watch that one?
So I think that one is in theaters right now, and it'll probably be on demand, in the next few weeks, I bet.
See, you do go see these fancy movies in those fancy New York
I
theaters.
saw the trailers for this. This is still some platonic shit, right?
Yeah. They never explicitly make it romantic.
All right.
It could be platonic, it could be romantic, depending on your interpretation.
Is
But
it purposely
it's
left up in the air? Is it purposely
yeah,
less
yeah,
ambiguous a
yeah.
little bit?
You can
Or is it
kind
like
of
does it
project onto
matter?
it whatever you want. But it's one of those things where they take you throughout New York. I think it's supposed to be in the 80s, but yet they have robots.
Yeah, I pulled
Um,
up this video.
and so they take you on adventures through the city, but then they get separated at some point, and they're kind of longing for each other. So you get a lot of fun dynamic and and character building moments between the two of them from their different perspectives. Like even the robot has a perspective. And part of what makes it fun is that the robot is experiencing New York and the world, for the first time, being introduced to this stuff and has a sense of wonder about everything. And so you get to experience it through those eyes as well as his dog companion, right? And that's sort of what the movie is about.
How to with John Wilson.
A little bit.
Okay.
Except with, dog people.
Except with dog people. All right. Sounds good. So that's Mars Express out on streaming like Amazon, Apple TV, however you want to rent it. And then Robot Dreams, which you think is in theaters right now, but maybe eventually will come to streaming at some point. Sav, what are you loving this week?
Yeah, so I've been hyped about this for quite some time since they announced it. I don't know, forever ago, year ago, I don't know, but I've been hyped for a minute.
Decades ago.
Long ago, it was written in the stones. No, but that new Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree DLC,
Oh, yeah.
It came out on the 21st of June, a couple weeks ago. I've been hyped for it. I got it right when it came out, and I've been playing the ever hell out of it, and holy moly, it's really damn fun. No other way to put it. I am having a blast. I am loving it. Trying to see what I want to
you
say.
and like the entire world. I think they have like the highest number of downloads for a DLC ever, or something like that. Like
Yep.
millions.
Yep, and many will not finish it because that shit is hard and it is unforgiving. I went into this game with a character who I think I'm on New Game Plus like 2, which means that like I just beat the main game twice.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
It's whatever.
I've only scratched the surface of that game.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've beaten it twice, but I had a very, very high level character. I was in the camp of like, I hope I'm not too strong for this DLC. So the way the DLC works, one thing I'll share is that it's an entirely new map, a whole new section of map. It's about the size of, for context, Brian, remember Limgrave, the starting area in the game, that huge area?
Yeah.
It's like the size of that-ish. Maybe a little bit bigger. It is huge. It is ginormous. Like, to be frank, this could easily stand alone and be its own game, keep it a buck. Like, it was a $40 DLC. They could have easily have got away with, like, had this, like if you didn't have Elden Ring, they could have charged this as a full game. People wouldn't have given them any, like, flack about it. So it is very dense. One way this DLC works, though, you go to this new world, new bosses, new enemies, all that. I won't worry about the story stuff, but that's not really what's important, at least for this review. But they have a feature called Shadow Tree Fragments. And basically, that's the way they do the level up system in the DLC place, so that no matter how strong your character is or isn't, because you don't have to beat the main story to start the DLC, although you do have to progress pretty deep into the story. You pick up these fragments, and you basically use them to increase your character in this specific DLC place. Picking them up gives you more defense and makes you do more damage. And so that's the key to being able to hold your own. If you don't have them, I don't care how strong your character is, including me, who had like a in-game level character, I was getting smacked around until I started picking more of those up. So the DLC deeply encourages you to do lots of exploring. You're encouraged to go out in that world, explore, because as you explore, you'll find these little fragments that'll just make you stronger. And in general, this DLC is so dense in terms of the environments that you could very much lose. Like, I did the classic, okay, I'm just going to wander around the map and explore and see what happens. And I took a tiny left turn in a small cave, little opening that's barely the size of like 2 doorways. And that leads into a whole new area that has a bazillion new enemies, bosses, and all kinds of shit. So like, right. So the game deeply encourages being able to explore. In general, they just added more to what made the game great. The environments are beautiful. The enemies are well designed. The environments are varied, colorful. The spells, new weapons are all great. But in typical Elden Ring fashion, the game is hard. The bosses are more aggressive than ever. They're cool as ever as well, but you will be getting clapped up. And I think that was a little bit of a controversy some folks had about the difficulty. Some folks saying, "Oh, it's too hard," and it
It's
was
Even
I
actually,
thought
harder than the
I thought
original
that was the
game.
point. I thought that was the point of these Souls games.
it is. The point is punishing difficulty, and I think, and from what I was reading, because I don't know, this is my first Souls game, but what a lot of people I was talking to or read said that this kind of happens with all the games. A new one comes out or a DLC comes out, it's hard. People just need to take time to learn how to fight these new, really hard enemies, right? Like the DLC's only been out a couple weeks, so naturally, first of all, there's the people who can beat it and who's not hard for them. But what I learned is that you just need to really take full advantage of your resources if you want to stand a chance in the game. So, like, the bosses are tough. They're not impossible. But a lot of times if you're losing, it means you're not using your full toolkit. And, you know, Brian, you played enough the game to know there's all kinds of, like, pots, potions, items you can craft, talismans. There's a lot of niche, not niche, but, like, you get a very large toolkit. And I can understand why most players would be overwhelmed by that toolkit and probably not deep dive into what their options are. But, like, for this DLC, if you want to succeed, you need to use every resource that they have given you in order to win. And you can, even Elden Ring, you can beat that game without using certain resources that, like, can make the game much easier. So I found that the game has forced me to engage with all of its mechanics more, because some of these fights, you got to get every advantage you can get. I'm like, oh, this enemy's blasting me with holy damage. I'm like, shit, I need to get this talisman to boost my holy resistance, because if I don't, I'm just going to be eating too much damage. So it's not impossible, but you got to, like, you know, you got to prep. If it's an enemy that does fire damage, you better get you some fire resistant shit. You're not about to just thug it out with your regular base gear, you know?
Yeah.
And
you can't use your regular build to apply to all situations like you kind of could do in the base game, right?
Yeah, you could. This one you need to have a little, or you need to be just like that. You know what I'm saying? You got to be one of them ones. And I feel like the people who are one of them ones
Like
were either already using the full resources to begin with, or they're good enough to where, like, they're not the ones saying the game is too hard. You know, I've found it's folks who honestly aren't engaging with all the mechanics who will find it to be too hard. But it's like one of those, hey man, you got to do your homework. Like that happened to me. I hit a wall and I said, all right, what do I need to change so that I'm not just getting smacked around? And I did that and I started getting better results. So if you like that kind of gameplay, which is the whole appeal of Elden Ring, you will have a blast. But like the fights are like
Wes
puzzles.
Is shaking his head a hard no.
Yeah, hard no. Like, you know, I had Tyler and Kendall screen sharing me. They had one boss I was fighting, and that boss probably took me an hour to beat. I was getting clapped up, but every time I lost, I was learning a little bit more about what's working, what's not, what I need to change, switch up, and eventually I figured it out and won. And to me, that's fun. If some people that is not fun, but if that's your gameplay loop that you enjoy, you will have fun with this game. Well, yeah, you had a question. Not fire away.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've talked about on this show about Elden Ring is that maybe one of its shortcomings is that you basically got to look up online like how to do things, where to find things, where to go, and there's just so much of it that's not in game that allows you to progress. Like it's nearly impossible. So would you say that they have fixed that with the DLC, or have they doubled down on it?
It's better as a whole, but there's still certain instances that's like, well, this was extremely cryptic and there was no way I would have figured this out on my own. Like some of the quests are still cryptic enough to where I'm on the final boss right now, and I did a lot of like random side quests, and there's certain questions like, oh cool, I didn't know that I had to do this cryptic impossible thing, and now I'm locked out of a unique weapon. I'll just have to wait until my next playthrough to get it, which is kind of how these games always end up being. It's
that is frustrating.
Yeah, but also they kind of do that by design of certain quests, no matter what. Some quests, you know, it's like you have a branching option. So like there's lots of weapons that you can only get one of through a playthrough. So if you want to get more, you got a new game plus it. So they do design the game on purpose for you to have to play through multiple times to get, you know, duplicates of gear or like different option stuff. But I think as a whole it's better, because I was like making a goal of I'll use the wiki if I need to, but if I don't need to, I won't. And for the most part, I was able to explore pretty organically on my own and stumble across bosses, progress some basic parts of the story. They're still kind of cryptic, but you got to read between the lines about some of the cryptic shit. They added a new feature that's a recent in your inventory, recent items inventory. So stuff that you've picked up recently, you can have an inventory just to see what's new. So that can help you keeping track of stuff you might have picked up that's relevant to the story, but maybe it gets lost in the big inventory of shit that happened. So like that quality of life change made it easier for me to, I picked up a note, the note's clearly relevant to the story. I can quickly find it, open it up, and try and make sense of the cryptic shit to see, okay, they want me to go to this part of the map-ish. But like there were still some moments where I needed to pull the map out, or there was a certain weapon I wanted, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to discover this on my own. I want to just kind of treasure hunt it a little bit. But it's not as bad as the first. It's still a thing.
Yeah,
but
it sounds like they're sort of helping you, but nah, not really.
They're still ultimately how you want to play the game is like people usually play it one of two ways. They either explore and just whatever happens, or some folks, which I do a mix of both, is that I look up specific gear and weapons that I know I want for my character, try to get those and go specifically get it. And then once I get the special gear I want, then I just explore and kind of just whatever happens. But I kind of leaned into that because I wanted to just enjoy the DLC. I didn't want to just power through it and rush through all the like most efficient shit. I just kind of figured I'll wander, and unless I'm so lost that I feel like I'm actually like wasting my real life time, then I'll use the wiki to kind of speed things up. But you know, I don't mind spending a bunch of time on a fight. I do mind spending a bunch of time looking for something that's just tucked away a little too hard for my taste. But it's better. But like, you know, but this game is for a certain type of gamer, and you do have to be like, the game is like half adventure game, half like half puzzle doing homework, you know? It's almost like D&D in that regard.
So I definitely approached the original Elden Ring as the former thing that you said, of somebody just wandering, whatever happens. I'm trying to explore it. Like I sort of approach it the same way that I approach Breath of the Wild, open world style, right? And that means that I have not beaten the game. I'm not even close. But even though I probably sunk in like well over 100, maybe close to 200 hours on the game.
Whoa.
And just like fucking around and going all over the map and just seeing what is happening in that world, without looking stuff up. But I really enjoyed it. I was one of the people that had June 21st marked on my calendar, thinking like, oh my God, I'm going to go back into this world. The DLC is coming out. And then I discovered that you actually need to have beaten 2 particular bosses to even play the DLC.
Yeah, Moog and Radon.
Which I don't think I had.
Damn.
So
you haven't fought Radon yet? Yeah, bro.
Maybe I fought Radon. I don't even know. Like
dude with the 2 swords on the horse.
Like one of them is the Khalid boss, right?
Yeah, the Lord of Blood,
which
Moog.
I have not.
Yeah, and then that one you actually have to go pretty not deep into the story, but like you got to be, you know.
Yeah. So the DLC, I was like, well, guess that's not for me. However, if I had actually beaten those 2 bosses, with this new system that you're talking about, Savon, where you know there's that new shadow tree fragment or whatever that you got to collect, like, would even a player like me be able to get into the DLC, like be able to approach it, because it sounds like that sort of puts everybody on a similar scale.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you still need to be the game. The DLC in terms of the enemy's general strength is still under the assumption that like your character is strong enough to have finished the game. You know, like it doesn't mean that you have to have beaten the game, but the game is kind of assuming, hey, if you're in the DLC, we're assuming you at least are a character who's around the level of someone who would have finished the main story, which usually puts you around the level like 120 to 150 range. I don't know what level your character is, but like if you want to start the DLC, generally what I've read is that you want to be in like that lower to mid 100s range. And keep in mind, these fragments only work in the DLC area. So it's like it gives you an attack defense buff, but it's unique to that place. So that's how the playing field gets evened. But the real trick, I think, is just having a decently leveled character, and then the scatter tree fragments will do the rest of the work. because like I said, my character was like level 270 when I went into the DLC, and I was still getting smacked around by like some of the first enemies I found, because it didn't matter how strong I was. If I don't have those fragments to boost my stats, you're just going to get smacked around no matter what. So in that sense, you still, no matter what, you're incentivized to collect them to level up so that you can just, be able to hold your own.
Oh my god!
Like when I started,
270, that's
like
a
when I started
character.
like when I started collecting them, I realized, like at one point I was like, oh, I'm getting bullied. I need to just find scatter tree fragments. And I just went exploring, hoping I'd find some. Found a bunch, went back to fight a boss, and it was a night and day difference, because even them couple level differences was just able to, that instead of being left with no health, I have a sliver. And that sliver is all I need to heal and get back into scrapping. You know how I go, Brian. Like, I get 3 shot instead of 2 shot. That's a big difference.
That's the entire game right
there. That's a needle mover. So, this DLC's been great. I'm having a blast. One thing I will say that is good about Elden Ring in general is you can still summon other players to help you, and especially for like bosses. And so if you really are someone who's like, these games are impossible, like Wes, for example, say you were just like, yo, I'm never about to fight a boss by myself because that shit's too hard. It would still be hard. Don't get it twisted. And you still got to fight through the main enemy parts by yourself, and that's its own challenge, but it's a different type than like just Elden Ring boss level hard. But you could pretty much always just summon other players to help you. And other players, especially the really good ones, because if you're going to help someone with a boss, it means you've beaten the boss already. Those people are good at the game. So if you really like, it's still not easy, but if you really wanted to experience the game, you can still leverage the wiki, leverage YouTube, and just leverage summoning players to help you out. Like, I help Tyler out in Elden Ring all the time. Like, Tyler's not about to fight some of the bosses with the patience that I be fighting a bunch of them. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, the game gives you different ways to play, but he actively is like summons other players to help him, me included. And like, that just adds a different dynamic. So like, there's folks who might want to play with no help, alone, solo, which is hard, but you can summon other people and they can absolutely like soft carry if need be sometimes.
So the real question is, have you summoned Savon?
No, I used the NPC summons in the game to help, but I don't summon other players. My philosophy
He's not about a soft carry.
My philosophy is
get good.
No. I think people should play the game how they want, and like I'm glad they added that, because plenty of folks will say, "Fuck it, I just don't have to play this game," which already happened because none of our friend group who all got Elden Ring really finished it. Like for real. So, like, and lots of people did
clearly
the game. So like, if you can encourage people to finish the game, that's more important than any other crap. Especially because it don't affect me. It's a single player game. Like, why do I care how people beat the boss? Like, I'm not getting paid for this shit. But no, I prefer to beat the boss myself because it's just a pride thing. And I don't want someone else to beat them for me, because I'm like, no, I'm prideful.
You want to deliver that final blow.
I want to be the one to say, like, I don't want to have, I want to be the one to say, yeah, bitch, holla at your boy. What's up? No one beats Savon 132 times in a row. You dig?
Put that on his tombstone.
That being said, it is an ego boost when bosses who I hear people complain about, I'm like, ooh, I beat that one on like the 3rd try. And then I got that little ego boost. So I see them on Instagram or TikTok on the internet of just a boss smacking people around about Elden Ring heart memes. And I'm like, ooh, I kind of cooked him. there's still that little bit. I ain't gonna lie. I still got a little bit of pride, but I prefer to solo and then just help other folks. Like now I'm at the point where I'm just like going to bosses to help other people with shit that I was doing, because that's fun.
Nice.
How many bosses are in this new one?
I've fallen asleep 3 times.
Enough. Wait, what'd you say it was?
I said that game sounds awful. I've fallen asleep 3 times while you're talking about that. No, I haven't fallen asleep. It just sounds crazy hard. I don't know. Are you doing your rule of cool, swagging your character out, like trying to get him the best like looking gear, or is that not this kind of game?
Oh no, I mean it is. In fact, there's a joke in the Elden Ring game community is like, you spend this time with this in-depth character creator, because you really can go stupid in-depth of how your character can look, and then you smack a helmet on him for the rest of the game. And you never see your face again.
You can't even see it.
I adhere too much to the rule of cool. I wear armor that I like, even if it's not statistically optimal. If I like how it looks, I will modify my build to make this armor work. I will never wear a helmet. They added, actually, in the DLC, they added, like, it's funny, they added dreadlocks as a hairstyle. So my character has these dope long dreadlocks, and he's like this dope black dude in his badass armor. I think I'm putting a helmet on. Hell no, y'all got me bent. He's like, I'll take that stat hit. I'm like, whatever, I ain't tripping.
And you carry around a giant tooth-shaped hammer.
Well, now I
That's what
got
I've
a new
seen.
hammer that's shaped like an anvil, but
Okay.
but yes, I still carry around a comically large hammer and a comically large shield, and I go around bonking people, and it works, and it's fun, and
So
Are
you're
there
a cross
characters with
between
range?
Killmonger and Harley Quinn? That's who your character is?
I'm
Yeah.
more like Reinhardt from Overwatch, just a big dude with a hammer and a shield, just tanking, taking hits, running at people unga bunga style. Not a lot of finesse, just a lot of I'm gonna run and I'm gonna hit you really, really hard, and we're gonna see. We're gonna go from there. We're not keeping now, Wes. I even tried some different builds, dude. There was so many cool weapons I unlocked. There was like this badass sword, these cool things. I'm like, oh, this weapon's cool. I upgrade it. I use it. It's good. And I'm like, ugh, but it's not a big ass hammer. And I'm like, oh, why would I hit this enemy with a sword,
When you could hit him with a hammer.
bruh? And these enemies are so tough, and the hammer actually does hit stun to even strong enemies. And I'm like, why would I slash at this dude and he's just like standing there when I could smack the shit out of him with a hammer and he actually gets knocked down? Like, I don't care if it takes 4 seconds to swing it. Like, I can't help who I am, Wes. I've tried different things, and I'm a creature of habit.
All
If
right.
only you could customize the sound effect that goes with the hammer so that every time you smack someone, it just went bonk.
Oh, that would be good. Don't incur. If I had PC and mods, God forbid. But yeah,
Or like quack like
I'm
a
sorry.
rubber duck.
Yeah, but I know. Sorry, I know we've been talking about it for a minute, but yeah, it's an amazing DLC. It's fun. It's worth every penny. It's an insane amount of content. You said how many bosses, even not counting mini bosses and just like the name bosses that have
Yeah, the
cutscenes
big
or give you,
ones.
or the ones who give you like a remembrance where you get like unique gear from them.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's gotta be at least 8, 9.
Oh my god.
Like, it's a lot.
That's a whole game.
It's a lot of ball. People were joking calling the game like Dark Souls 3.5 because it's so Elden Ring, Elden Ring 1.5. It is a lot of, like, I've been playing it intensely for the last 2 weeks, and I'm finally at the final boss. There's still shit I haven't done, and there's still stuff that's like I'm gonna do on a second playthrough. Like, it's, you get your money's worth.
And you're single again because of it.
I am doing a great job of balancing my boyfriend duties and my duties as Elden Lord. At one point, Tony sent me a meme, some shit about like one of those just Elden Lord things. Just like, I'm trying to be the Elden Lord. He's like, did you beat the boss? Damn right. But I was getting bullied before.
Support your man.
Yeah. Like I said, no one beats Savon 238 times in a row. Not if I have anything to say about it.
Yeah, that's right. I would just quit. I'd be like 10 times in a row. I'm done.
Do what
done.
Mike said he was doing, and Tyler
that?
at first until I drew him back in. He said he's just gonna enjoy what Kendall's doing. Enjoy the game from afar. Enjoy the game via TikToks and Instagram reels, because Kendall will see a fight and be like, "Oh yeah, I saw somebody fighting this boss on TikTok." I'm like, "Well, this boss is working me out." I'm glad your TikTok friends having fun, because I'm getting my ass
5
beat.
pounds.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, good stuff. I'm loving it.
Maybe it's the same as exercise, like you're like using your brain. We know that the brain uses a lot of energy, so maybe it's kind of like exercise.
Honestly,
Yeah,
the
that's why
game,
people die playing video games.
Yeah.
No, the game is like, honestly, you have to think of it like a puzzle, frankly. Like, you really have to think of it as, oh, the enemy's floating in the air and the music swelled up and there's a bunch of light and shit. It means run backwards. Like, It's legit just pattern, like not just, but like at its root, it's pattern recognition. Oh, enemy flies up, you need to run back. Oh, they're swinging this, it's like a dance move, right? It's almost like step left, step right, roll. That will work every time, but you gotta learn how to do it. That's the hard part.
And you gotta find it. You gotta find that combo on accident sometimes.
Yeah, and straight up, some of these fights, like Brian, you know how it is. You get the enemy down to 30% health, they're gonna debut a bullshit move that you didn't see at all that fight. Like a real anime, characters have like their back pocket nuke move that's like, oh, I never have to use this technique. Like, they really just, all right, you got me down to 20%. Bet I'm gonna float up, glow like a supernova, and nuke the entire stage. And the only way to avoid it is for you to have already known and have been on the far side of arena. Oh, you didn't know? Sorry, sounds like you got to fight me again.
Yeah, you're doing that another 20 times after.
The first time is for you to learn, okay, so that's the bullshit move, bet. After that, it's like, all right, now I know about the bullshit move. Now you have to learn how do I avoid it? Because now you know it's coming, but sometimes you know it's coming and you still like, oh, like they'll start glowing. I'm like, I'm too far away. Or I'm too close. Oh, I'm not far enough. I might as well just light a cigarette and sit down. I'm about to die.
Or the worst is when you play it again and you're like, I didn't even make it back to that point again because I died too soon.
What? Yeah, boy, you get into the second phase down to 20%. Like, all right, I got this. I run in the arena and get 3 shot. I'm like, because I just wasn't playing with that locked in page. No, oh, you thought, sorry, Savon, you tried to block 4 attacks, then attack. You got a little greedy. Bow. Oh, okay.
All right. So Elden Ring, you're having a blast.
I'm loving it.
Nice. All right. Well, that's been what we're loving, friends. Hit us up on Instagram at confidently_pod. Let us know what you want to talk about next. We got Deadpool and Wolverine coming up in a couple of weeks. That probably will not be our next show, though, because that's about 3 weeks away. So we'll probably have a show in between now and then. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We got to talk about it after this show. So we'll let you know what the homework is through the Instagram feed. Friends, we're out of here. See you later. Bye.
My brother responded in the group chat. He's like, I'm pretty sure he's mostly joking because I know he doesn't. I know him. He doesn't have the patience. Yeah. But I know his mentality. LMAO, nigga, I'll push you off the cliff of that top spot. Lions don't just give up that top spot. They fighting.
Okay.
I said, question y'all. I'm doing this for the podcast. If we were online for King on some Lion King shit, would y'all push back on me being king since I'm firstborn son? So I think I framed the question pretty like.
Yeah. Nice.
You know, that was the framing.
And Blake said he's coming for that.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I guess knowing Blake, he, like I said, you know, it's like the real Game of Thrones. He's like fucking Renly, who just wanted to be king just cause. It's like, you're not in the line of succession. You have none of the skills. You just see the thing and say, yeah, I guess I want the thing. And just fucking it up for everybody. Like, honestly, our relationship isn't unlike a little bit of a Stannis Renly, not in terms of coldness, but in terms of Stannis wants to be king because he has to be, and that's his duty, and the other one's just like, yeah, this sounds fun. Yeah, I'm gonna just do it because fuck it, why not? It's like, oh my god, this is serious, bro. He's like, no, I'm gonna run for king, bitch. Team up with me. No, I think I'm just gonna be king. Good lord. So I guess it'll get messy with the Joneses.
Nice.
You're flanked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
we'll see what the sisters say. All right. Good one. Laters.
Good stuff.